What's up YouTube? Nick from Everything Card Games here, and today we're going to start a sealed only journey. So each week I'm going to spend $40 on sealed products, so no singles or trading, and I'm going to build a competitive dino deck. This week we start with just the 3 structure decks. They were $10 each from my local game store D20 Hobbies. Check them out. And that'll leave us $2 for next week's budget, but we'll just start from there. I'm going to open up one of these to show you all the contents, and afterwards I'll do a deck profile on what I come up with the sealed only stuff. I'm thinking for the actual gameplay video, it'll probably be a lot on like YGO Pro or Dueling Book, just because of everything going on in the world right now. But I'll probably do 4 matches, similar to RevZ's system where he's been doing, although I probably won't do any of the like kill streak stuff, at least not in the beginning, because that will be non-existent. So yeah, let me just get the wrapping off this real fast. If you want to see more stuff like this in the future, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It would mean a ton. Alright, so now we got into it. Let's take a look at what one of the structure decks has. So we've got Petite Pteranodon, a great extender. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, one of the best monsters in the game. Going to be really leaning on this guy for a hot minute. Overraptor, just the main searcher of the deck. Lost World does a lot of cool stuff with like Overraptor and whatnot. We've got Survival's End, not that good. Then we got some vanilla monsters, Megalosmasher Smasher and Sabersaurus. We got Superconductor Tyranno, Ultimate Tyranno, the old school feels. Sauropod Brachian, it's just kind of filler. Super Ancient Dynabeast filler. We'll probably end up running Tyranno Infinity, especially in the beginning, just as like a big beat stick. Got Black Brachios, just some kind of filler. Baby Ceresaurus and mostly Miscellaneousaurus. Oh man, if I could say that right. Gonna be great things to add. They're good consistency pieces. This can search stuff, and well, that also searches stuff and helps with hand traps. And we got some more just kind of filler. And then Rescue Rabbit, we might end up running in the beginning. I'm not quite sure yet where I want to go once we actually get some like extra deck monsters. And we got Fossil Dig, just a great searcher. Twin Twister, good for the sideboard. Painful Decision might be okay. Unexpect to die for the meantime. Then Terraforming to find our field spell, and then just some jank traps. That's kind of cool. So yeah, let me tinker around with this for a sec. I'll go ahead and throw the deck together and show you what that's going to look like. Alright, and we are back. After tinkering with it a bit, I found a list I'm reasonably happy with. The one thing I have noticed is that it's really hard to get things into the graveyard at the moment to banish for Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. There's a couple cards that kind of help with that, but that's just something we're going to need an extra deck for, because I end up with a lot of monsters on the field, but then I can't link them into anything. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Starting off, we have 3 Soul Eating Overraptor. Whenever it's normal or special summon, you can add a dino from either deck to hand or deck to grave. And you can pop a dinosaur monster on the field to summon one from the grave, but we can get around that in a little bit, and we'll show you that with Lost World. Got 3 Miscellaneousaurus. This card is really good. It prevents your opponent from hand trapping you, since you can just discard it and it's on your dinosaurs are unaffected by card effects for the turn. And you can also banish it from your grave along with any other number of dinos to summon a dino from the deck that's level to that, but it's destroyed at the end phase. There's some really cool combos you can do with this thing. We just don't have those combos right now, so it's mostly there for the hand trap protection. As far as the babies, since this is week 1, we're running 3 of each baby. I really want to cut this down to like 3 total, but it is what it is. They're pretty clunky at the moment. They each just summon a dino from deck when destroyed by a card effect. This one's 4 lower, this one's 4 or higher, but it can't attack. Which, there's some really cool combos you can do later with like Pankratops with this, but we just don't have that yet. For our main win condition right now, we've got 3 Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. It's just a really good beat stick. It's disruptive in that you can pop a dino to book a moon or flip all of your opponent's monsters to face down defense position, and it can attack all of your opponent's monsters once each. It even has like a cool, like, if it attacks a defense position monster, you can just send it to grave and they take 1,000, which is really nice. Gets around like, well, flip effects, but that's not super relevant. But it gets around like destroyed by battle kind of effects or destroyed by card effect because it just sends it. And then as far as the more janky stuff, we've got 3 Tyranno Infinity. If you banish 4 monsters to summon this with a Miscellaneous Source, it's like a 4k beat stick. And that's good enough for me to run it. Also, like, it's a lot of times just going to be like a normal summonable, like 3-4k beat stick. And that's the best we're going to get right now. And then last monsters, 3 Megalo Smasher X. It's a level 4 2k normal monster. There's some synergies with like Lost World you can do with it. There's also a couple other cards in the deck at the moment we're running that make use of this, but it really sucks. That's all the monsters we're running at the moment. No hand traps since we don't have them yet, and no like cool things. As far as spells, we have 3 Lost World and then the Terraforming to find it. This card's really good. Whenever you're to summon a dinosaur monster, you give your opponent a Jureg token, and when that thing is on the board, your opponent can't target anything else with card effects. So like, they can't Valor your stuff or Imperm your stuff. They can still like Ash Blossom, but just anything that targets is a no-go. And then you can destroy a monster in your deck instead if a normal dinosaur would be destroyed. Then it also includes the token. So what you do with Oviraptor is you normal summon Oviraptor, get your search or whatever, and then if you have a dinosaur in grave, you can target the token to pop with the Oviraptor and then destroy a baby instead, so you get the monster back from grave and a monster from your deck. Right now we don't have a lot of ways to use those monsters since like we don't have any links to climb into or any like Xyz to go into like Lagia Dolka, but that'll come later, and that'll be a really good combo to have access to. As far as our other searcher, we have 3 Fossil Dig. It finds Oviraptor or Miscellaneous Source, whichever one you really need at the time. Like if you have one, you can search the other. For our Megalo Smasher package, we have 3 Unexpected Die. If you don't control any monsters, you can just summon a level 4 normal from the deck, which is Megalo Smasher. It's a free 2k body. It's okay. It's not great, but you know, maybe it'll get there. I have no idea. And then the True Jank, 3 Painful Decision. It sends a level 4 or lower normal monster from your deck to grave to add a level 4 or lower of the same name from your deck to hand. I don't want the card in hand, but this lets me dump a dinosaur from deck to grave, so that like if I have a Conductor in hand and Oviraptor, I can just dump one more and then I can summon it. It's not a great card. I'm gonna cut this in a week, but for now it's just there to help with the Conductor because I really don't have other ways to get cards in grave right now. And then for some generic stuff, we got 3 Twin Twister. It's gonna get moved to the side deck, but for now we just kind of have to main deck it. And then 3 Survival's End. It destroys a normal monster or as many normal monsters as possible on the board to summon that many dinos from deck. I more care about the fact that you can banish this from grave to pop a dinosaur and a card your opponent controls. It's not great, but we gotta work with what we got. There were some really bad choices like Evil Swarm Salamandra that I thought about putting in instead, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Onto the side deck, it really is non-existent right now. I'm running 3 Rescue Rabbit because they are cute. That's really the only justification I have. Later on, we might run some of the normal monster package, like in the early stages, to get like access to rank 4s. I don't even know if we're going to do it then, but for now it's in the side deck. 3 Swords of Concealing Light. This is mostly for if my opponent doesn't have Disruption, I can play this and then beat over everything with Conductor Tyranno. I don't think it'll work. Also, links make that not work, but you can hope. You can dream, right? And then we got 3 Burial from a Different Dimension. I guess if someone really cares about their banished pile, I could bring this in. And then 6 cards for going first that aren't great at that, but I don't have better options. This actually isn't that bad. You negate a summon, a special summon of monsters, and they draw a card, but they also end their main phase. So like it doesn't necessarily it basically just stops a battle phase if they're like in their like turn one and trying to do something. But it could be worse, and sometimes you can stop a key summon and it's okay. Quaking Mirror Force is in hopes that they don't have a negation. It books all attacking monster or all attack position monsters into face down defense position, and they can't flip back up if something attacks. It's a neat card. It used to be kind of okay. Now it's just kind of bad. There's way too many things that interact with it, but I didn't have any better options, so that is that. And then the last but most important card, our boy, the Jurag token, sleeved up in these sweet blue eyes white dragon sleeves because they deserve the fine life. That's it for the deck. I'm going into the gameplay videos. I don't expect to win any games this week. I assume that it's going to be kind of hard to get Conductor out. My best hope is someone's just playing some random jank and I can kind of beat them over with UCT. But other than that, we'll just go straight into the gameplay.
Alright, so round one, we are up against some kind of Inspector Border Control. Honestly, it was pretty weird. He had like Night Assailant and BLS in his deck. Our opening hand was pretty terrible. We just set 2 and summoned Megalo Smasher and passed. He started with a Desires into an Inspector Border set 4. We were able to Twin Twister 2 with a back row and then go from there. We were able to do Survival Zen to get to a couple things. He tried to Judgment just the Overraptor, but said the Survival Zen resolved, but that's not how that works. So we were able to use the Survival Zen to pop the border and then attack with our 3 monsters after he Judgmented the UCT that we searched. He ended up using Scapegoat, so he was able to survive for the turn, but he still only just had 1 token left at the end of that turn. And then the monster got popped in the end phase. Then he went for a Linkuriboh set, so then we were just able to search another UCT, which was able to clear both his monsters and hit him for 18, leaving him at 22. From there, he went to do another Desires, and then he was able to summon a BLS along with a Thunder King Ryo. I wasn't sure if I was able to book before the banish on BLS, but I just went with it and then summoned another UCT. He impermanents the UCT, but it didn't really matter since I could just attack over both of his monsters, and he scooped. I was hoping to go for a full match, but he just scooped right then and there. So going into round 2, as we wait for this to load for a sec, we went against a Dark Magician deck. This one also is a really short game, unfortunately. He just kind of scooped after turn 1. We were opting to go second, which I kind of prefer with this deck anyway. He then proceeded to go through a couple stretches so that he could get into Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, starting off with the Desires. That seems to be a card everyone loves these days. Then he went for Magician's Soul to dump the Dark Magician, to pitch a couple cards to draw a couple, and then goes for Keeper of Dragon Magics, and then Magical Eyes Fusions for the Dragoon. We go for Fossil Dig and Miscellaneousaurus, and then we proceed to pitch it. I assume he thinks that we were just like a real dinosaur deck that could actually do things, because he just scoops right there. We did have an out to the Miscellaneousaurus at that point, because now his Dragoon can't interact with what we're doing, so he either has to negate this, or he just kind of has to let me UCT run over him. So like it was a pretty good scenario, but I mean I assume he would have won games 2 and 3. And then going into the third duel, this was actually the only thing where we actually got to play a full like best of 3 match. So we actually got to choose which one we wanted to go. We opted to go second, I believe. Let me see. No, we were going first, and he just didn't do anything and passed. So then we went into an Overraptor just to set up for next turn. A problem I've been noticing with this deck is that it's not like you can easily get cards on the grave, so like UCT can't easily be summoned on the first few turns. He tried to Desires during a middle of his main phase, but that's not how that works. He's playing Mystic Mine Burn, so we were able to Twin Twisters the first Mystic Mine, but then later on he ends up finding another one with the Goddess Scold's Oracle, so he lets you stack the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, so we're never going to find another Twin Twister, so I ended up scooping after that. I didn't have anything to side against him, if I can talk. So I ended up just going straight into game 2. He sets up the Goddess Scolds, but luckily we were able to use some shuffle effects like Painful Decision and whatnot. So we were able to bash him for 2k there. He ends up gaining 1,000 with the Cauldron of the Old Man. We end up using a Fossil Dig to look for a Soul Eating Overraptor in search of UCT. He ends up using Demise of the Land, but we also have the Twin Twister. He ends up Dark Bribing that. So we just set the Survival's End. He also does that. We use the Survival's End to pop the Field Barrier, so that next turn if we draw like a Twin Twister, or we do it then, we use that and then get rid of all that, and then we end up winning that game. Game 3, we are going first. We end up Fossil Digging for Overraptor and then going for Megalo Smasher. Using the Overraptor, we end up searching for UCT. He gets a token, and when we end up doing the trick where you can like go to destroy the token and then just destroy a baby in deck, he ends up going for Mystic Mine. We have the Twin Twister, but he has the Bribe already, and then he goes Extravagance into the Goddess Golds, and we don't have we're never going to draw a Twin Twister from this point, so we just scoop it up. So yeah, that was the gameplay from this week. Again, main notes is we don't have a side deck right now, and because we don't have an extra deck, we can't really get monsters into the grave that easily. So next week I'm really excited. We're going to be adding some cards that can allow us, well, we'll have an extra deck, and then we can just send monsters that way so we can actually summon UCT. There's also going to be some other spice, and who knows, maybe the packs will be lucky to us. But until then, this is Everything Card Games. This is sealed only Dinos week 1. Stay tuned for week 2, and if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more.